Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Gerald. I'm from the Netherlands, as you already heard, and I'm here together with Pedro. Pedro, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from?
Hello everyone, I'm Pedro Jesus and I'm from Brazil. I am a mobile software engineer. Back to you,
Okay.
Jared.
Awesome, awesome. And my name is Gerald from the Netherlands, working at Microsoft, actually on the .NET MAUI team. I'm doing Xamarin Forms at the moment, but I'm somewhere around there. And together with Pedro and a couple of other people who you might know, we are working from the community. So we have some people on the Microsoft side, but we definitely also have a couple of people from the community working on something that is called the Xamarin Community Toolkit, and now also the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, because I think we had an epic demo about a .NET MAUI app going everywhere at the beginning of .NET Conf. So let us tell us a little bit about this project that is related to this. I'm going to talk over a couple of slides, and then Pedro will take the wheel and show us a little hands-on demo of everything that is in there. I am keeping my eye on the chat here on YouTube at least. So if you have any questions, find me there. And I think Layla will also point out some questions near the end if we have some time. So feel free to ask. And of course, our Twitter handles are in here as well. So feel free to reach out anytime. So, what is actually the Xamarin and .NET MAUI Community Toolkit? There has been a previous reincarnation of this thing back in 2016, from the top of my head. I don't know, at least a couple of years back, where we tried to combine a lot of things that you might use when developing Xamarin and Xamarin Forms specifically, because if you're working with XAML in Xamarin Forms, then you probably have a lot of converters and behaviors and maybe effects. Um, and as it goes, I know from my time when I was actually building apps instead of working on the framework, I would have a lot of converters, but they were too small to put into its own package. So what would happen is that I would have this converter, and I thought for the next project, I need it here as well. So I would copy and paste that code, tweak it a little bit here, but not there. And now suddenly I have two versions. And as you have a couple of projects going on, you suddenly have a lot of versions of these converters, right? And that's not something that you typically want. So what we're trying to do with the toolkit is to gather all those converters, all those things that people are writing over and over again in their own projects, put it in one toolkit backed by you, the community, and also backed by Microsoft, because we are using the .NET Foundation infrastructure. We're governed there, so it's not just this one maintainer that everything is dependent upon. And also, to be very honest, we are going to .NET MAUI, so Xamarin Forms 5 is the last version. There will not be any major development in there anymore. So to still bring some new features, new controls, we are also doing that in the Xamarin Community Toolkit, and some of those controls, of course, we'll also be porting to the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. Sorry, I get still confused with the name sometimes, so forgive me if I say something wrong here. So it's also an incubator for new controls, and we're going to keep it that way, right? So also for .NET MAUI, if we have a new control that we are like, we kind of like it, but we want to see where it goes first. We want to see if it is stable enough, where it's going. We might want to put it into Toolkit first, develop it there first, and then if we decide to like it and we want to put it in .NET MAUI as a first-class citizen, we take it from the toolkit, put it in .NET MAUI, and that's kind of like one of the things that we envision for this toolkit. Um, you might have already heard also about the Windows Community Toolkit, which has been doing this. Is a similar project, does very similar things, but that has been running for a few years already. We kind of do a similar thing there, and more on the Windows Community Toolkit in a little bit as well. Um, we also have docs in place for the Xamarin Community Toolkit. I'll be very honest and the first to say that they could use some improvements, but they're all open source. So the good news is that you can contribute to that as well. And we do a monthly stand-up live stream, as with a lot of products here at Microsoft, and also the community projects. So we have that as well. You can join that on the first Thursday of every month, where we talk about the status and what is going on there. So the toolkits today, that was more about like the Xamarin Community Toolkit as it is now, where it came from. So let's talk about the toolkits today, because we are in a kind of unique situation where Xamarin Forms is going to evolve into .NET MAUI. It's going to move from to a different repository. It's going to move directly inside of .NET 6, which is just launched, of course. And I see a question in the chat on YouTube: when will .NET MAUI be available? It was supposed to be available now together with .NET 6, but .NET MAUI took a little bit longer. There were some things, all kinds of reasons that don't really matter. So we pushed .NET MAUI back to Q2, so the second quarter of 2022. But you can try it out today. There's previews. We'll keep doing previews each month. You can still use the previews. And that's kind of the same path that we're following with this toolkit as well. We now have the Xamarin Community Toolkit, which is very complete, which has a lot of awesome features. And we're going to add kind of like two toolkits to that, which more or less do the same thing. So the first one is going to be the Xamarin Community Toolkit MAUI Compat. If you've looked into .NET MAUI already, then you know that we also provide some kind of compatibility layer, if you will, where you can still use your renderers and all kinds of code from Xamarin Forms. But it doesn't leverage all the new advantages in .NET MAUI. So excuse me. We're also creating a toolkit that has everything the Xamarin Community Toolkit has today. You can use that in .NET MAUI with the compat layer. So you can use everything that's in there, but it won't use the new handler architecture that's in .NET MAUI. So while you can use everything, it isn't as performant as it could be. Basically, it's still going to be better because all the things that we're getting from .NET 6 and the performance improvements and all that kind of stuff is going to speed it up anyway. But it's not going to be like .NET native, if you will. So together with that, we will also create the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, which is going to be a complete rewrite of the Xamarin Community Toolkit. And that will not have everything the Xamarin Community Toolkit has. Why not? Because we combined efforts with the Windows Community Toolkit. That's a lot of toolkits right here. I'm sorry about that, which I mentioned earlier. And they have a lot of awesome stuff already. They have their own MVVM framework based on MVVM Lite from Laurent, who you might know from the community for a long time as well. He basically said like, hey, I'm not going to continue maintaining this. We can move this into the Windows Community Toolkit. And that is, that's the thing that we're trying to do with these toolkits that library maintainers might say at some point, like, hey, I can't take this burden of maintaining a library anymore. I'm going to give this to you, or I'm going to give it to you and still do the maintenance there. But if I, for some day, decide I can't do it anymore, then the toolkit can take over, right? We're with more people there. We have a team. But where I was going with this is they have an MVVM framework. They have a lot of converters because the Windows Community Toolkit primarily targets like UWP and all that kind of stuff, which also has XAML. So they also have these converters in place already. So we had some duplication there, and we're looking at the project structure, like where should we move things, maybe break up some packages here and there to make it more logical. So that's all kinds of things that we have to take into account right now, and that we have to look at. That is where we're going with the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, and that means that we're not just going to copy and paste over everything from the Xamarin Community Toolkit. Some stuff went into the Xamarin Community Toolkit that, in hindsight, maybe it wasn't the best decision to add it yet. Some things definitely need some more stabilization to be in the toolkit as well. So we're going by case to see what we are going to port over and whatnot. You can see everything in the repository. Just go to, I think we have a link later on, github.com/community toolkit /MAUI. And there we have a big workflow with championing the features, and you can help out because I can't stress this enough. It's the community toolkit, right? So you can definitely help join us, and I will be glad to help you start contributing to this as well. So start your open source journey with us. That's definitely that I would love to be able to do with this project as well. So just a short recap on this: the Xamarin versus the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. The Xamarin the Xamarin Community Toolkit will follow Xamarin Forms timeline for deprecation. So as .NET MAUI is introduced, the day after it will go in GA, the time starts running for Xamarin Forms, and I think it will be supported up to a year after that, maybe a little bit even further after that. But then the support stops, and in that support window, we will still release bug fixes and stability fixes for both Xamarin Forms as well as the Xamarin Community Toolkit. So we won't be adding any big new features to that. And the day that the support stops for Xamarin Forms, we will also stop the support for the Xamarin Community Toolkit. With Xamarin Community Toolkit MAUI Compat version, you can use everything that is in the toolkit today in your .NET MAUI app. So you won't be blocked with your conversion to .NET MAUI because you can use that MAUI Compat version. It's kind of like in testing phases right now because we're figuring out how to build it against .NET MAUI. And whenever a new version comes, we have to get some things rolling to create that MAUI Compat version. But we're definitely working on that, and we would love for you to try it and let us know what is working and what is not. Now, for the MAUI Community Toolkit, I put the abbreviation here with MCT, which isn't technically correct, but it follows the pattern of XCT, so that makes it a little bit easier. The MAUI Community Toolkit will follow the .NET MAUI timeline for release. So not for deprecation, but for release. So the MAUI Community Toolkit, we're trying to release preview versions each month as well. I'm not sure if we are going to actually succeed in that all the time, but we're trying. And that will be released at the time that .NET MAUI is released as well. And we will have everything ready, hopefully, that we envision will be in there. So that will be the same day, hopefully, or at least around the time that .NET MAUI is released as well. And the MAUI Community Toolkit is using the .NET MAUI native approach. So it uses handlers. It's completely rewritten. All the things in there will leverage all the new advantages of .NET MAUI. It will be super fast, super awesome, totally amazing. So just to give you a quick overview of what is in the Xamarin Community Toolkit right now and the MAUI Compat version, you can see down below on the left-hand side is our URL for the GitHub repository there. And I think this slide is already outdated, or not everything would fit in here. So there's a lot more. We have a lot of behaviors. We have a lot of converters. And the thing that people tend to like most is the view. So we have a camera view, so you can have a camera somewhere inside of your application. We have an expander view, which is also known as the accordion view, so you can open and collapse some things there. Avatar, all kinds of things. We're going to see a little bit by Pedro in a little bit right here. And this is what we already added in the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. So the behaviors and the converters, I'll be honest, those were very easy to port, right? Because we almost didn't need to change any code. It was just copy paste and boom, we have them. So we have those ported already, ready for you to use in your .NET MAUI application. And now we're starting to go into the harder part with the views, all the controls. Those are the hardest to port. And again, if you want to help out, we will be glad to accept any help. So please reach out if you're thinking about doing that. So we also, I didn't even mention that, we also have the markup extensions, which let you write your UI in a C# in code in a more fluent way. So we've had that for the Xamarin Community Toolkit as well. And we now have that for the .NET MAUI. It's called the .NET MAUI Markup Community Toolkit. Wow, naming is still hard. And that thing is actually kind of complete because also that one was pretty easy to port. So, the markup extensions should work for .NET MAUI as well. We're definitely going to take that, but it moved to its own repository. So beware of that. It moved to its own repository, but I think you can use this today. It's pretty complete. So also there, if you start to check this out, please let us know how it's going for you and maybe if we missed something. But this should be available for you today. Now then, I think it's time to switch over to Pedro's screen, who is going to give us a little demo of what is in the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit today, and probably squeeze in some demos of the Xamarin Community Toolkit so that we have a little bit more to show than just some converters, which are not very exciting. So, Pedro, take it away.
Thanks, Jared. So yeah, let's take a look first on what we already have for the MAUI Community Toolkit. We have some behaviors and converters already ported, and we are working to make them better, and also porting our views and other components that already exist on the Xamarin Community Toolkit. So from here, from the converters, I want to show just a few of them so you have like a feel of what we already have. For example, we have our color converters where you can pick any color that you want and you can have all this information about the color. You know, it's very complete and you can do that just with one XAML line. You know, it just instantiates the converter and use it and you are ready to go. We have also, let's see, equal converted to make sure that the values are the values that we expect. For example, here, if I type MAUI in uppercase, I will convert it to no, it doesn't equals to yes, it is. And it's case sensitive as well. So this make a huge room of things that you can do with your application as well. We also have some behaviors here to show. Whoops. So we have, for example, the event to command behavior where you can pick event handler. And if you are doing a MVVM approach, you know, you can just convert that event to a comment very easily, very quickly, and don't break MVVM. We also have this progress bar animation here where we have this beautiful animation for progress bar. So if your application needs that, just go grab it to one line of code and we are good to go. And another one that is very helpful is the user stop the typing behavior. So here I can like set up a minimum characters count for I trigger some action and time in milliseconds to do some action. For example, if you has some search bar on the application and the user start typing, so nothing will gonna happen because I just have 2 characters. And when I have 4 or more characters, you can see here below that we have some action triggering. So yeah, as Jared mentioned, we have just a few things on the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. So let's jump over to our Xamarin Community Toolkit, where we have a bunch and a lot of controls there.
Yeah, let me
So-
just add really quickly, Pedro. All the
Sure.
things that you see here that Pedro is showing right here is from the sample app. So in our repository, we also have a sample app both for the Xamarin Community Toolkit and also for the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, where you can, download the code. You can run this on your simulator, physical device, anything, and you can check out all the things. We try to have a sample for all the features that we have in the toolkit, so you can try it out that way, and you can immediately also see the code that is needed to actually implement this. So this is not some demo that we just created for this session. This is a sample app that lives inside of the repositories for each project.
Good call. So first one that I want to show is the animations. This is a very new one because I love this feature because I'm terrible to do animations in my mobile applications. And here we have some pre-built animations, you know, compound animations. So for example, you have this tada and we press start and we have a bunch of small animations commits that will make this work, and you can also cancel this animation right after. And you have also this ripper band animation. So it's just a few lines of codes in XAML, just set up some properties to customize those animations, and you are ready to go. And probably we will do more animations in the Xamarin Community Toolkit. And just remember, everything that you are seeing here on the Xamarin Community Toolkit, we will port to MAUI. Actually, not everything, because there are a few things that .NET MAUI will have by default, like shadows, and we have shadows on our Community Toolkit. So we will not port things that we will have on .NET MAUI already. So we also have a lot of effects here. For example, we have, let's see one, the shadow effects, as I mentioned. So we have a bunch of shadows that you can use on your application. We have a status bar effect. So if you want to change the color of your status bar, you can do it very easily. We have a touch effect that we can do some animations with touch and make it even better. So just use it. I believe this is the most famous effect under our community toolkit. Oops, wrong. And also we have a bunch of views like avatar view where you can, put like for contacts and stuff like that. And we have a badge view where you can increase, decrease, customize, do whatever you want to do with that. We also have the drawing view where you can draw everything for, signature or just be an artist. We have also some layouts like hex layouts here that is very useful if you are building an application for Apple Watch, for example. We have our pop-up control that we have this control where you can put whatever you want, this pop-up, you can put in any position that you want. So it's very powerful and very customizable, and you can do whatever you want with that. With one
Yeah,
button.
that's you just mentioned the touch effect and now the pop-ups. Those are contributed by actual community members, which is really cool. So I think I mentioned it already earlier. Like, we also very much would like to help the library maintainers out there. I mean, we're not trying to cannibalize all the libraries and try to put it all in our toolkit. Definitely not. But you know how it goes, right? If you see a library and it's just maintained by that one person, there's a lot of them out there, and it didn't see any updates for years, months. And people are questioning, like, hey, is this still maintained? What's going on here? And it's the maintainers right to stop maintaining it for whatever reason, right? Maybe they moved on to some other tech, Blazor, I don't know, which is very amazing as well. Or maybe they just don't have the time because their job is very demanding and they need to do the time there, or maybe with their family, right? Because the situation in the world is still very crazy. So one thing that is really great about this initiative is that you could, if you want to, come to us, because Andre did that with the touch effect and some other things, and Andrew did the pop-ups, Andrew Hoofling. So they came to us basically and said, like, hey, we want to put the stuff in the toolkit because then it can be better supported, more people will see it, it will have better visibility, it will have all these things. And I think that is what really is great about this project, that is really driven by the community. A lot of community people are involved. So but I mean, Pedro is from the community. I work at Microsoft,
Yeah.
so I'm on the inside, but Pedro is from the community, and we have Sean also from the community. So there's a lot of involvement there, and that is what's really great. Sorry, Pedro. What else did you want to show us?
Oh, no need, sorry. It's always great to have some some more information here. So since you mentioned about the pop-up that was contributed by Andrew, this is a very nice history behind this because he's implemented this pop-up for his mobile application, and I think that was 1 year since he did this implementation, and he just came out on our repo and say, "Hey, I have this pop-up that I use on my mobile application. I think that the community could take a huge advantage of this control." So he open sourced it. It's amazing, like you do something on your job and you see, oh, could be cool to have on for everyone, and the community toolkit is the best place that you can share your code with the other community. And also for accessibility, we have the semantic keyword view. I cannot demo it because I needed to turn on my screen reader, and that will take some time here. But Xamarin Forms, that lacks a little bit about the accessibility feature. It's not so easy to implement that. So Shane and Rachel did this amazing job supporting this, to creating this control and effect and put this on the Xamarin Community Toolkit. That way, Xamarin Forms applications could take advantage of this feature. So if you are looking for some accessibility or make your app more accessible, take a look at this. And just a reminder that will be those features, semantic overview and semantic effect, will be available on the .NET MAUI out of the box. And also we have this snack bar one that is contributed by a community member. That is the Vlad, I believe his name. And you can now have snack bars on their application. So just go for it. And I believe that is pretty much it that I have to show for the community toolkit. Jared, do you remember any other control that you would like
Oh,
to share?
there's too much to show in just 30 minutes. I think you already showed a couple of great ones already, and we didn't even show like the media element, which allows you to play videos or sounds or whatever. But it's also kind of hard to always show that in demos like these. Here it is. Pedro is bringing it up. And the other great one that I already mentioned is the camera view, which allows you to access the camera, but that is even harder to show here because that is running on an emulator, which doesn't have an actual camera. But definitely go check it out, the sample app that is there, and all the features that come together with it. Like I said, the actual development of the new features is going to move to .NET MAUI from now on, so the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. So be sure to check out the issues that are already there, and of course, open any feature requests that you might have or whatnot. So Pedro, I think, or Leila, you can switch to my screen as well. Then I will do the last couple of slides. We have 2 more slides. How to get involved. I mentioned already the monthly stand-up, which is hosted on, I don't know where this is broadcasted, actually, the .NET Conf that we have right here, but this is the YouTube channel where our monthly stand-up will be, and the Community Toolkit link is there. Please note that we have a workflow implemented to propose new features and how we go about that. So please familiarize yourself with that before you go out and do these things actually. But that is what we would like you to do. So it's open for contributions and any ideas. So please engage with us. Thank you so much for joining. I would love to see if there are any questions.
Wow, thank you both. That was really great to see all those cool examples. Let me just have a little look. I haven't seen any questions coming through. Just going to have one more check because I keep seeming to get them a little bit delayed coming through to me. So I'm just really trying. Let me see. No, nope.
Well, then
Nope.
we either did really great or really bad. I don't know. I'm going to assume really
I think you did
Yeah.
awesome. There's no such thing as really bad. That was
No,
fantastic.
that's true. So
Thank
no,
you.
definitely. So and thank you, by the way, indeed. So just to fill the time, yeah, we are really. I've said it so many times now throughout the session. We're really doing this with the community. So we're also still, I don't know even how you joined Pedro. I think we asked you because we tried to have this core team, right? Where you need kind of a core team to move things along, move things forward. But that doesn't mean that the people at Microsoft have more to say over this, or the people in the community. We definitely appreciate any input. We engage with the community. We're on a Discord server. I think the link is on the repository where you can engage with us. On Twitter, our Twitter handles are everywhere, so we can redirect you to the right place. So I really cannot stress enough how much of a community effort this is. Although even the people from Microsoft, we don't get time from our jobs to do this. This is also something we do from a place of passion because we love Xamarin, we love .NET MAUI, and we're doing this in our evenings and weekends, right? So this is just a kind of side project. So maybe it won't move as fast as you would hope sometimes, but that's because we're also doing this in our spare time, right? So that's kind of what the situation is, and that's also why we kind of lack sometimes the docs, which we try to have, because without docs, things doesn't exist. I don't know who said that, but it's a friend of mine, I think. Because we also wanted to be discoverable and people to be out there to see what is in there and how you can use it. So yeah, we're excited to release this and look forward to all the feedback and working together with all the community members here. So thank you so much for having us.
Oh, and
Thank you so much.
both. Thank you for your passion, both of you. It's so lovely to see. So have a wonderful rest of your day and
You too.
see you soon. Bye.